And of course, the importance of never losing the weekly release schedule. Proud anti-binge watch supporter here. Big up Celebrity Traders, big up Pluribus, big up Dispatch Wednesdays, I miss them so. Anyone who's ever come within about 8 feet of me has been made quickly aware of 2 things. 1, I'm actually a 6'4" black man, and 2, I absolutely adore Ted Lasso. Call me a relic, call me what you will, but I'm not the biggest fan of this recent wave of cynicism that we've seen in the world. You know, we've had our Karens and our misery gutses since the beginning of the time, but it feels like in recent years, someone somewhere has turned that dial up to 13 with their grubby little mitts. It's like there always has to be something negative to say. Nothing can just be fun. Nothing can just be good. Any attempt at unfiltered celebration is met with mockery and arguments from people who are trying to tell you that you shouldn't feel the way that you feel, whether it be from people or bots, probably bots. So when something like Ted Lasso comes along, especially when it comes along at the height of the COVID pandemic, it feels like a warm hug. A reminder among all the shouting and the fighting and the division that there are some things fundamental to humanity that no matter how much the powers that be might want you to believe otherwise, simply cannot be removed permanently from the human animal. Inspiration, creativity, hope. It does feel like, in a lot of ways, the lessons that the show of Ted Lasso tried to impart onto us were acknowledged, appreciated, and then all too quickly thrown in the bin. In the time since that show and the accompanying message has departed, it feels inarguably like more of a hostile world. No one's curious, everyone's judgmental. And then 5 years and a bunch of tears later, in the midst of what feels like the world being so very on fire again, and everyone's at each other's throats and everyone's hating each other, when it feels like everyone has all too soon forgotten the lessons that our dear coach tried to part onto us, when we've forgotten the decency that comes above all else, and we've forgotten to simply believe, an unexpected challenger enters the ring. Jesse fucking Pinkman.
Hello, it's an emergency call. Somebody's stolen all my insulin for my foot.
I reckon that's for Golem. Bro defo has high blood sugar, he'll sniff that shit out. Dispatch was announced at the Game Awards on 13th of December 2024, and it went to the top of my wish list on 13th of December 2024, where it remained until the day of release. It caught me immediately and entirely. Beautiful animation, hot demon lady, cool characters, snappy comedy, hot demon lady. Why'd they make everyone so hot? Goddamn. It also helps that, and I'm not bullshitting, I was outlining a similar game concept pitch type thing right before the announcement. I'll pull up the Samsung notes if I can be bothered to find it. It's like 2 phones ago. It was a game where you would play as an emergency dispatcher, not a hero, but you would be sort of making considerations about the context of the conflict, deciding on the most ideal outcome, like how to approach that and everything like that. Me being me though, I was going the horror route and had some cool ideas to make it a snazzy, short, like 2-hour horror game that I don't want to go into detail on now because it might still happen one day, you know, when I'm like 56, knowing my writing habits. Sorry, thanks for your patience, by the way. How you been? How's the kids? How was your Spotify Wrapped? Me, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, thank you. Had a little breakdown. Got some more tattoos. I wear gilets now. It's a tough life being fine shit. I knew from first sight that this was going to be a fun and stylish experience. What I didn't expect... I've been exposed. I didn't expect that I would be doodling the logo in the margins of my notepads like I used to do in school. That I would be booking in a tattoo appointment to get the same logo on my body permanently just a few weeks later. I didn't expect to leave it with a feeling of hope and optimism that I haven't felt to quite an extent since our last outing with Ted. I can confirm here that with the exception of Shrinking's season 2 finale, this is the first time I've been brought to tears by something on the first viewing, the first experience of it. I'm weird, I'll cry at stuff, but generally not the first time I'm experiencing it. Like I love rewatching and replaying and rereading stuff and all of that, and the waterworks generally tend to come the second time around. Shit, it's Brett Goldstein. He's doing this to me. Is he Shroud? Life kind of goes to shit, so you decide to take a job that's kind of different to what you're typically used to. When you start, everyone hates you. Everyone thinks, who the fuck is this guy? He's not right for this job. He is going to screw us all over and we want him gone now. But enough about me. We're here to talk about the Ted Lasso and Dispatch. I don't want to make this a video where I'm like, look at all the similarities between this game and this show. Look, they're practically the same. This scene is doing the same thing. I'm so observant, guys. Anyway, bye. See you in another 15 months.
That's actually water.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I get you?
But it's worth acknowledging that they do share some similar concepts, some similar DNA, and some kind of similar plot points too. I don't think it really speaks of originality in any way, but I do think it speaks of the anatomy of hope. You know, what humans look for when we need something to hold on to, we need something to believe in. Fuck. Both of these projects do an amazing job at reminding us not just that things can get better, but how and why.
It's about to start raining, but my book is getting wild. Can you send someone to get the washing in so I can finish this chapter, please?
It's raining. I'll send Flambe, because fuck him. Robert is not a difficult character to root for. Aaron Paul did an exceptional job at portraying him as this worn-out, beaten-down guy who just simply refuses to give up and step back into the shadows. Even with his gear and reputation decimated, it is his simple, natural instinct to continue to do what is good. And whilst Robert isn't super curious by the seams of it, like he just kind of minds his own business for the most part of it, it's made up for by him not being judgmental either. He's a facts guy, pretty nonchalant. What matters to him is not what you have done, but what you are doing. Unless he can take the piss.
Wait, oh shit, I do remember you. You're that shitty villain I busted up.
While it's definitely something of a miserable start for Robert, things turn around pretty quick when we're introduced to Mandy. And we're shown pretty quickly that we don't need all the bells and whistles and fancy equipment to continue to do good. All we need is a headset, a cup of joe and a side of beef. I can't tell you porkies. I did not like some of these geezers at first. Flambe, obviously, is designed to be annoying and irritating and off-putting in the beginning, but I had a special level of like Kratos-style hate for him. He was mean to Pookie Bear. He's lucky he's alive. In Visigal 2, I to be honest, I wasn't falling for the whole, I'm sad, so I get to be mean and rude to everyone else. No need to panic though. I'm an Invisigal truther now, through and through, completely. As of like episode 3, maybe 4. taking the photo of the leaderboard, I mean, like giggling and kicking my feet and shit. I do love them both, Blonde Blazer and Invisigal, but I knew Blonde Blazer wasn't going to be the romance option I would pick when there was the dress scene. She was wearing the great dress, and Maya Roberts said she looked incredible, and Blonde Blazer came back with a weak ass like, thanks. Goddamn, okay. I mean, I guess I should have picked the rude option, which is actually the Riz option. What do I know? I mean, saying you look like a squillion bucks and your response is cheers drive. Like, come on, give him a bit of appreciation if you're actually into the guy. Meanwhile, with Vizzy, you be nice to her. You show her a bit of appreciation. You buy her a Kit Kat and she'll put something in your ass. There has been a lot of talk since the game finished about the romance options. Who's the right choice? Who's the wrong choice? But listen, it's all different. You've got BB for the refined Robert, the gentleman. You've got Invisigal for the Robert who lives life on the edge, likes a thrill, likes a challenge. But for the serious romantics, the ones who ain't fucking about, you've got Royd.
Bummers.
Anyway, I was hesitant to like this gang. I didn't want to fall for their undeniable charm because I knew there was more than likely a morally gross person underneath. And I would have kept that attitude for the rest of the game had it not be for me thinking and remembering the attitude and the lessons departed onto us by one exceptionally mustachioed bloke with brilliant sneaker game that I was definitely inspired by. A little ways through my first actual shift, I was overcome with this intense feeling of excitement. I thought back to one of my favorite fictional characters ever to be put to pen. I thought of why he was that to me. And then I thought, amazing. It's my turn. Let's get to work. From there, we are off to the races, and it doesn't stop. Every episode is a joy. Episode 1 and 2, a lovely introduction to this world, the characters, the vibes of the game. This is really living up to my hype. 3 and 4, we dig a little deeper, not like that in Seek Church. We learn some more stuff about these characters and start to root for them and root against them sometimes. Damn, this is my favorite game of the year. Episode 5, one of the best bar fights ever witnessed in a video game. I love every single person here. He's punching dicks. Fuck, game of the year. This is one of my favorite games I have ever played. Episode 6. I don't like this game anymore. I don't want to play it. Fuck this. Number 7, and people are starting to think, there's quite a lot to wrap up here. We've only got 1 episode left after this. Either they're going to need a season 2 or the ending's going to suck shit, you know?
Blonde Blazer in the 80th minute with a level of aura unseen by mankind until this day.
And episode 8, I'll be damned. They brought it home. They stuck the landing and they stuck it good.
I just got charged £6 for a fucking pint. Come sort this shit out.
Nah, that's outrageous. We'll go Punch Up, Malevola, Punch Up Again, and Phenomenon. Throughout these 4 weeks where the episodes were being released, there was a lot of discussion online. It was electric, it was beautiful, it was very vindicating to me as someone who really doesn't like binge releases and loves the weekly release schedule. This game was a genuine event, and throughout that event, I heard so little negativity about these characters and this story. So little about them as people in particular as well, because outside of their introduction as assholes, and to be fair, their continuing activities as assholes, they're just so goddamn lovable, even when they're fucking up, fucking each other up, or fucking giving up. My point is, if you'll let me get to it, Jesus Christ, that thanks to a beautiful blend of great writing, pacing, and acting, it's quite easy to go from, oh, fuck all these guys, they can go back to the slammer, I don't care, to, I will die for you, and I know that you will die for me. And the nuclear power that fuels this development is essential and unmistakable. Belief.
Belief doesn't just happen because you hang something up on a wall, all right? Comes from in here, you know? And up here, down here. Only problem is we all got so much junk floating through us, a lot of times we end up getting in our own way. You know, crap like envy or fear, shame. I don't want to mess around with that shit anymore. You know what I mean? Do you?
No, coach.
No. Do you?
No.
Oh, me neither. Hell no. Now, you know what I want to mess around with? The belief that I matter, you know? Regardless of what I do or don't achieve. Or the belief that we all deserve to be loved. Whether we've been hurt, or maybe we've hurt somebody else. Or what about the belief of hope? Yeah, that's what I want to mess with. Believing that things can get better, that I can get better, that we will get better. Oh man, to believe in yourself, to believe in one another, man, that's fundamental to being alive.
Whoa, what a cool stadium. It's chilly out here. Many words can be used to describe the TV show of Ted Lasso, but the two I keep falling back on really just sum up the whole desire and the attitude of the show. Relentlessly optimistic. Should you go into this show with a closed heart and perhaps a closed mind, maybe you've had that heart or that mind closed by others, it's really easy to dismiss Ted Lasso as this sunshine and rainbows bollocks for kids, utterly deceptive twaddle speak. The show is fully aware of this. The cast often feel like we do. These players feel the same things we do, really hesitant to accept optimism as a lifestyle, as a choice. And they've got a point, you know. A lot of the things that this geezer says could fit perfectly on a Facebook wall full of vapid inspirational quotes incorrectly attributed to Gandalf. I watched many such cheery sunshine bollocks and rainbows shows as a kid, and they often did fail to give me that feeling of hope, I think because it always felt like there was one step out of reality. It is quite ironic then that Doctor Who was one of the ones that actually worked, considering it's several steps out of reality, but I don't know. Big up the Powell estate. Ted was different though. Twitter evidence confirms it. He and this show had my heart in minutes. It was like no other reaction I had had to a TV show in such a long time. Sleep deprivation be damned. It also helped that this show started and came out at what was undoubtedly the peak in my lifetime of hatred and division. Social, political, financial, medical. It could not feel more like the world was on fire. This is a show that doesn't just repeat its message of, ooh, people are better than they think, people should be nice to each other, but it screams it from the rooftop and refuses to budge. That message isn't coming from a cold caller who you can tell to fuck off. It's coming from your sleep paralysis demon. And he's got lungs. When I think of the lessons and the ideas that Ted Lasso tried to impart onto us in its original 3-season run, loads come to mind about, you know, leadership, empathy, and so on, but I think the one that sticks out the most, and I have sort of implemented into my own life the most is about forgiveness. I don't know about you, Coach, but I was kind of led to believe that forgiveness had to be earned. If someone wronged you, they ought to be knocking on your door with a big apology speech, a bouquet of flowers, a little smooch on the cheek, and an offer to mow your lawn. If they weren't deeply and genuinely guilty and apologetic, you ought to probably turn your nose up at them until they are. Ted and his mindset changed that for me. I think now that the most helpful and logical thing to do is generally to forgive someone before they've proven and demonstrated that they've earned it, or even that they want it. It sounds ridiculous, right? It sounds nuts, but I'm not nuts. I'm Dan, it's nice to meet you. It's demonstrated time and time again that people who think that they're beyond redemption will rarely even try to be better. You know, what's the point? I've already hurt that person, I've already harmed their lives in some way. Even no matter how much I try, they're still gonna hate me at the end of it, so what's the point? I will have still done that shitty thing to them, so it's effort wasted. I think it's the same kind of vicious cycle that keeps people antisocial, keeps people from talking to one another, or even trying to build up those relationships, even if they aren't coming from a place of destroyed distrust or anything like that. You know, it keeps people thinking, like, if I talk to someone, they're not gonna like me, they're gonna hate me, both of us are gonna be embarrassed, I'm gonna fart and leave. Failure is accepted before success is even considered. It sucks, but it's a mindset that too many of us have adopted to some degree. And so when we wrong someone, when we hurt someone, obviously it doesn't feel good, but making up for it almost seems like a lost cause to some degree. We're reluctant to try. But imagine if you were told truthfully and undoubtedly, beyond your brain's stubborn ability to refuse the possibility of a positive outcome, that you could still be loved, that you could still be forgiven. Surely when you know absolutely that there is light at the end of the tunnel, even if you can't quite see it yet, you're far more encouraged to start fucking running. It might sound cringe, especially if you haven't adopted Ted's mindsets to any degree, but the first steps in achieving your goals is believing that you can. You know, without that belief, you might never take that first step. I remember in the time between season 2 and the release of season 3, there was a lot of talk online about Nate and Nate's redemption and how long it was going to take for Ted to forgive Nate for what he had done at the end of season 2. I think there's only one possible answer to this. Ted forgave Nate as soon as Trent pressed send. He forgave him again the moment he saw that ripped up sign. Ted didn't need to know the ins and outs of why exactly Nate did what he did. He knew that this was a good person who was hurting, and Ted unfortunately got some of that fallout and was hurt as well. Big whoop. He'd recover. His concern is about the person who is truly, genuinely hurting. Do you know what? It warmed my heart to such an unbelievable extent to watch this kind of mindset transform onto the human equivalent of an introverted turtle, Roy Kent. In episode 9 of season 3, when Isaac lashes out and twats a fan kind of had it coming, but that's none of my business. It's not even a question to Roy that Isaac needs help, not a bollocking. Whatever caused this is frankly irrelevant for the moment. It'll get dealt with in due course. What Isaac needs to know right now is that he is not shunned, he is not hated, and he is more than capable of making up for whatever he has done when the time is right. This moment chokes me up a lot because this is one of the people who hated Ted the most at the beginning. He was so stubbornly against the mindsets and the beliefs that Ted was bringing into the club, and now here he is, very much Roy, but a changed man. In that moment, it was made so clear that there was no better choice for a replacement for Ted. Ted's inevitable departure was all of a sudden made a lot less tragic because it was so clear that he had succeeded in what he set out to do. He changed these people. That intro doesn't lie. Back to Nate though. I've watched these 3 seasons an absurd amount of times. I mentioned in the Firewatch video that it was, what was it, something like 12 times. It's quite comfortably past 20 now. I don't have a problem, you do. When I watched the first season though, from around the season 1 finale onwards, it was hard to feel anything but hate and contempt for Nate. Everything he did seemed to be in the service of puffing himself up like a fucking peacock and making everyone around him feel less. Even when he was doing good things, it felt like there was some sort of selfishness in them. Like he was trying to get everyone to admire him or maybe fear him. After a little soul searching and a bit of a heavier consideration of the character of Nate, I no longer feel anger when I watch these actions. I feel sadness. it's fucking devastating. It's an unfortunate and upsetting thing for him to behave like this and feel like he has to behave like this, because it's clear that at his very core he doesn't want to. He cares about people. There is a good person in there, absolutely. He wants to be decent, but he has been so deeply corrupted and rotted by listening to all the wrong people and all the wrong opinions. His dad, Rupert, people who stand against his real character and his real beliefs and instead feed his illusions and his insecurities. Nate fucking hates himself. It's very clear. This isn't a secret. It's present and open from episode 1 onwards, and it's not until the very, very end of the show that we actually get to watch Nate grow and heal and start to be someone that he actually likes. Him and Rebecca play these beautifully contrasting parts, and I love how they demonstrate this. You know, Rebecca's personal practice for overcoming nerves is to remind herself that she is powerful and she is deserving and she's a fucking miracle and she's really tall, high. Meanwhile, Nate's take on this is to remind himself that he is fucking pathetic. That all of his failures are how people are going to see him, and the only way that he will ever reach the heights that he wishes people would see that he is capable of reaching is to step on them. Quite ironic this is, as he stood so aggressively on the face of one of the only people who demonstrated that without any sort of influence required, he already believed that Nate could reach everything he ever hoped for. It is hard to see how far we've come, especially because we focus so much on how far we have left to go. It's just an unfortunate human trait. But it is a lot easier for us to see how far other people have come. To watch someone grow, to fail and succeed, what a privilege that is. So while people are climbing and failing and trying and succeeding and failing again, it is our duty, it's our fucking obligation to remind them every once in a while, yo, you have come so fucking far. You have come so fucking far. I don't even know you, but if you could look back on your journey yourself, I think you would shock yourself with how far you've actually come. But again, as people, it's really hard to see this and to comprehend this. Only in others is it really easy to see a lot of the time. People hurt us. They do. It's an inevitability of life. There's too many dodgeballs being pelted at us. Even the most limber Hermes motherfuckers get hit sometimes. Being hit isn't the problem. Being hurt isn't the problem. A heart that hurts is a heart that works. Ted is one of the most in-pain characters in the entire show, and he is our beacon of decency and of kindness. Because there's only a few options available to us when we take hit damage. We feel the need to spread it to other people. We hold on to it and we let it burn us. Or we take a lesson from it. Wow, this sucks. How did this happen to me? I didn't deserve it. Better retrace a few steps and see what went wrong. Would you look at that? They were hurting and I caught a stray. What a shock. Maybe I should throw it back at them. You know, it won't benefit me, but at least it won't benefit them either. Yay! Yeah, there's no smarter option than that. I think it's our only choice. By the time season 3 is wrapping up, all of the lads at AFC Richmond have a better grip on their own minds and their own emotions. They go from, oh God, this guy's gonna fucking ruin us, to literally bawling their eyes out when it is time to say goodbye. Lads, I was right there with you. Fucking pulling out the surprise Ed Sheeran. Bastards. Ted leaves after he has given them the greatest gift of all. The hope that they will always be better than they were before. The hope that saves you. All this to say, whilst the message of Ted Lasso can be pretty much summed up as be kind to everyone and believe in everyone, Dispatch maybe doesn't take such a universally hopeful approach to all things great and small. So Ted has daddy issues. A joke and a hug waiting for everyone, and he'll put you on a pedestal, right? Robert has daddy issues. A taste for violence and enough hands for all you motherfuckers. He'll put you in the ground. So why, despite all this, does it feel like Robert is one of the best symbols of hope gaming has seen in recent years?
Yo, I'm stuck under the fucking map again.
Like Ted did, Robert flipped the script. This ensemble of characters went from this guy sucks and he's gotta go to you keep your fucking hands off my Pookie Bear, I'll cut you, especially Flambe. Well, as I'd argue, pacifism doesn't necessarily equal decency, and decency doesn't necessarily equal pacifism. Having a good heart doesn't necessarily mean you aren't willing to absolutely throw the fuck down should the situation arise. Nice people aren't always good people aren't always nice. Chase isn't nice to any of these motherfuckers. In fact, he makes it pretty clear that he takes great pleasure in roasting them to a professional char. and yet simultaneously he's willing to die for them? It'd be pretty stupid to say that Chase did what he did for Invisigal because he likes her. He's made it pretty clear that he detests her and thought her plan was stupid. And whilst nothing is outright written in stone and guaranteed by the writing, I'd say it's a pretty fair assumption to assume that Chase's decision came down to one or both of two things. One, having the ability to help and not helping would end his status as hero, at least in his own mind. And two, for that hope, for that unrelenting hope that maybe one day Invisigal will be the person that she wishes she was. Maybe she'll do what she wants to do and be a hero. And monkey see, monkey do. Even if monkey do maybe puts you in a coma. The waters of morality are extra muddied in a game like Dispatch because the sort of the moral choices are yours in a way. You can kind of, to a degree, mold the story. You know, it's kind of the point of these choices matter type games. So Robert's morality can mirror your own a lot more than a random TV show character's morality could, because it's not all set in stone. And yet, it does feel like there are characteristics to Robert that are fundamental, and this is reflected in the choice stats. You know, people are all feeling the same things about Robert in a lot of ways. There's a pretty strong lean towards certain things in the story, believing Invisigal has a shot, choosing to forgive her and to trust her. At the core, it feels to us as people that this is someone to whom belief just comes naturally. It is the instinctual part. It is fascinating how close the percentages are between those who killed Shroud and who spared him, though. At least at the moment of writing it, the percentages are pretty tight, but the merciful lot are just about edging it out. Listen, it's understandable. I'm not even sure it's morally problematic to want to kill Shroud. He shows no remorse, no kindness. He threatened beef. Maybe I should have killed him. But as it stands, the majority didn't. Why? Because they think he can redeem himself? Yeah, I'm standing in front of a camera talking about being hopeful in people and everything, and even my Magic 8 Ball is saying, fat fucking chance, mate. What'd you call me? I did it not to the benefit of Shroud or his boys, but to the benefit of Robert. Throughout the past 8-ish hours of story, the topic has kept coming up, the question has kept coming up. What makes a real hero? We know it's not the suit. We know it's not the power, the status. Occam's razor says, shit man, maybe it's just that fundamental holding on to hope that the world doesn't have to be this rubbish forever. Shroud isn't exactly a focus point of this story. He's mentioned a lot for sure, and he does keep coming up, but we don't even hear him speak until episode 7 out of 8. This is not a story of good guy versus bad guy, at least not for the most part anyway. This is a story that can be pretty much summed up quite neat and tidily by one line in episode 5 in the bar.
We all pay for who we used to be. The sooner you get it over with, the sooner we get a fresh start.
This kind and decent framing of the team and of that morality makes it so that having a second chance after letting yourself down or letting others down isn't some mysterious thing that's in the distance. It isn't a rare loot drop. It is there for the taking. It is yours to pick up. In non-choice sensitive matters though, I did find it quite fascinating how so many people were absolutely convinced that Blonde Blazer was some kind of villain. Like we're just so accustomed to villainy and betrayal at this point that someone showing genuine decency is a sign of suspicion. And you know, that's part of why I'm making this video, emerging from the shadows, like Remy or Batman, I guess. It's become far too normal to distrust, to press X to doubt. And it is undoubtedly harder to say that Dispatch is about hope and seeing the best in people than it is to say the same about something like Ted Lasso, because of the choices and the agency imbued within the player. It's entirely possible, and plenty of people have experienced this, that you can fail as a mentor to Invisigal, she can turn to the dark side, she blows Shroud's shit smooth off, she misses out on becoming her best self. It's hardly a cheery, happy ending, hardly demonstrative of optimism. I didn't see this ending myself until a few days after I had finished my first playthrough, where I pulled Vizzy, hired Waterboy, kept Sonar, and saved the day. AKA, yeah, did everything fucking right. I said it, come at me. And as someone who adored this game and would kill God for a chance at Season 2, I kind of think that the evil Vizzy ending is a cooler setup for a second season. I just think it's an exciting story that would follow this ending with Vizzy on the wrong side to start with. You know, they meet back up, they say sorry to each other, they make up, they get married. What's that trope? Friends to lovers to enemies to bitches to co-workers to friends to lovers. But this ending, for the heathens that got it, still demonstrates the same point, is that belief is this nuclear power, and without it we all fall. And whether we want to admit it or not, there are times where all of us will need the help of someone else, you know? We need a hand from others, and even when we've taken the wrong path and walked so very far down it and fallen down, there will always be people who are willing to help, people who want to see you for who you can be, not for who you have been. The significant majority of us saw, as Robert evidently saw, the potential within these people. To be honest, I couldn't even tell you most of their crimes. The game told us that, but I simply don't care enough now to have held on to that information. Whilst they were surely villains once upon a time, the fact that they're here, there and now kind of just gives me the hope that they can be better. So I don't care when they were worse. In times like these, I'm led to believe that the biggest threat to the world isn't even villainy, it's apathy. You know, villainy is targeted and motivated and opposable. Even if they are awful and misguided, there are often reasons behind acts of evil, and they can therefore be dissected, examined, and countered. Apathy doesn't really have that. Not caring is somehow more of a complicated issue to tackle than caring so much to the point of doing something bad. Bringing facts and logic to the table might help you fight evil and villainy, but how do you fight silence? How do you change the beliefs of someone who doesn't have any? So if someone can feel so strongly in something to the point of fucking their lives up with immoral acts, surely they can care so strongly about bettering themselves. To believe that people are beyond salvation, that's the tragedy, not someone failing themselves or failing others. One is looking up at what could be, and the other is only ever looking down, never considering or hoping for more than what already is and what has been. Robert Robertson may not have superpowers in the literal sense like the rest of the Z-Team, although let's be fair, he's got to have some kind of dense skin shit going on. This fucker's indestructible. But his strength goes far beyond that. He is a man who sees no prerequisites for doing the right thing. No checklist needed in order for you to be approved to do what is right. All you need is the desire and maybe someone to believe that you can.
You know, I don't know about you, Coach, but I hope that either all of us or none of us are judged by the actions of our weakest moments, but rather by the strength we show when and if we're ever given a second chance.
I want to talk about the moment in Ted Lasso that emotionally destroyed me the most. Don't worry, this is the positive kind of emotional distraction. In fact, it was so goddamn positive and so kind and so hopeful that while watching it for the first time, it made me very slightly angry whilst I was a blubbering mess. In order to talk about it though, we need a bit of an appetizer on yet another one of my favorite fictional characters ever to be put to pen, Jamie Tartt. There's a theme going on here. Jamie Tartt, whom I also once had a primordial rage and hatred for. Spoilers from, well, pretty much the end of season 3, at least season 3, episode 11. Please do not go forward in this video if you haven't seen up to that part in the show yet. I cannot rob you of one of my favorite character developments and character arcs I have ever seen, even though I've already talked about season 3 a fucking lot in this video so far. Throughout season 1, I gave approximately 0 crumbs of a whispering fuck about Jamie Tartt's problems and insecurities. My whole heart, my whole soul, my whole being was comfortably assured that he was a massive and total prick. Why was he a total prick? Don't know. Not interested, don't give a shit, you were mean to my little cutie patootie. Before he got the massive prick perk too. Learning in episode 6 that he had a piece of shit dad might have helped a little bit, but I was still on the hate train, to be honest. That was an explanation, but it was not an excuse. I still wanted him to lose everything he ever had. Then he started to lose everything he ever had. And I wanted it all to stop. And at that point, it definitely wasn't because he had demonstrated any growth or decency. Pretty much everything he had done up to that point could still be seen as a selfish act. Him asking to come back to Richmond could absolutely still be seen as a wholly selfish desire. His attitude was, at very best, okay, but far from reformed. I was Sam for a while. That's another thing the show does really well, is that if you're feeling something, someone in the cast of characters is probably feeling that or very close to it as well. Sure, Jamie's a great footballer, no doubt about it, but he is the anti-Ted. He rips people down, he destroys their confidence, their belief. And like Sam, I was convinced otherwise by a brief little chat. And it wasn't the words of Sam that changed me. It was in fact someone entirely opposed to the idea of bringing someone like Jamie back to the team. God damn it. Maybe Jamie isn't a total piece of shit. Maybe he's like 95% of a turd. After all, he signed Henry's shirt. He got fingered for charity. Am I getting that right? And he showed up to the curse reverse. Maybe in this guy's heart somewhere is the desire to do good, or to be better at least. Maybe his words about his mum and his desire to come back to Richmond, maybe these things were all in the pursuit of personal glory and not in the pursuit of becoming a better person. But who am I to assume that? Who am I to deny myself the hope that there might be hope for this lad? Maybe he truly was just unfortunately being molded by all the wrong people and influenced by his desire to impress all of the wrong people. And maybe the roots of his gross behavior really were a father that Jamie is no longer interested in appeasing. I'm bringing this whole arc up not because of Jamie, sorry, I just chat a lot of shit, but because of Jamie's dad. That toe rag is the one who emotionally destroyed me, and he did it without a single word coming out of his twat mouth. After seeing the redemption of people like Jamie and Rebecca who had so severely hurt others, it really does feel like this is a TV show that is trying to say there is nobody beyond redemption. But it is a TV show at the end of the day, and TV shows need friction, they need drama, they need a little dash of villainy. That's where you get your Ruperts, that's where you get your Georges, that's where you get your James Tarts. People who you assume are simply beyond redemption, both because it needs to serve a TV show, and that's how it goes in TV shows, and also because in real life, sometimes people simply do refuse to ever change. I naturally assumed that Tart Sr. was one of these people. With like Jamie, with Rebecca, with Nate, there were these glimpses throughout at hope, at a potentially better person underneath the skin, you know? If your heart was in the right place, and the stars were too, you could hear it. The potential. But that was never really the case with this Muppet. He's just a dick. Every situation he does exactly what a dick would do. Beating Beard up in the alley, a frustrating moment in an otherwise pretty great episode. Yeah, I said it. Fucking what? Come on. That scene pretty much confirmed it. This is not a guy who the TV show are trying to redeem or have any intention of redeeming. In season 3, episode 11, my favorite episode of the entire show, and the thing that we've been getting to this whole time, sorry again for the yapping, even Mama Jamie says that this piece of shit will literally never change. Fast forward to the match. Jamie's just had me in tears. I'm proud like he's my own son, completing this beautiful character arc that we've been privileged enough to watch over the few years since the show started. Maybe he's still doing it for himself, but he is doing it in the service of raising himself and the people around him up, not pushing everyone else down. And then we get this.
He's a tough kid. His dad would have been proud.
Credit where it's due. Lasso rolled the dice on Tart's fitness, and the team's talisman rose to the occasion.
Dear sweet and sour, holy fuck, there is simply no stopping the hope train. In about 5 seconds flat, I'm proud of James Tart Sr., the king prick. I'm not going to pretend that this scene did hit me in the way that it hit me just because it was really well done. There was absolutely a personal element there. I've had family and had friends deal with addiction and alcoholism, and I've watched firsthand how difficult it can be when these things slither their way into your life and refuse to leave, and they make it so hard to be reliable, to show love, to show decency. These things turn you rotten, cynical, nasty to everyone around you. They can see it. But what's important to remember, and is often forgot, is that generally it makes people those things to themselves too. It skews your idea of what is decent, what is good, and what is an outright disrespect to the gift that is life. So while dealing with people like this is infuriating and draining and depressing and leaves you with that feeling of hopelessness, that things can't get better, that they cannot get better, it's quite important to remember that no one truly wants to be this way, you know? They've walked down all the wrong paths. If they've hurt you, you don't owe them re-entrance into your life. Please don't take what I'm saying here as being like, oh, you should accept everyone who ever hurt you back into your life. No, Jesus Christ. I'm not saying forgive and forget every pain that was ever inflicted on you. Oh, absolutely not. If people have genuinely hurt you, you know, just fuck it. But what I will say is to consider where the point of no return is. Oftentimes, these people in my life, I wanted to walk away from them. I wanted to leave them behind in the past of my life and let them rot away in their own misdeeds. And now, thanks in large part to a fictional fucking Kansas geezer, Kansan? I now do everything in my power to hold on to the hope that they could one day be better. The attitude of this show made it so that when I did meet characters like Flambe and like Invisigal, at least after a quick period of readjustment, you know, my GPS had to recalculate, it wasn't even a question of will these people be better? It was a matter of when. When it was later revealed of how these characters individually had hurt Robert, I had forgiven them before the scene ended. It simply didn't matter what they did before because they were here, because they wanted to be better. So not to the same extent as Jamie's dad, but in that same sort of vein, my reaction to this brief tiny little scene in the boardroom with Flambe was one of just immense and complete pride. This guy gets it. You don't get better by being shunned. You get better by believing that someone hopes you can and putting that belief into action. They don't open the door and usher you in, take your coat and give you a little smooch on the cheek. No, they just don't slam the door in front of you. The rest is up to you. If you haven't seen the comics that are attached to Dispatch's Deluxe Edition, I strongly recommend them. They give a lot of color to these characters. It's a lot of fun Dispatch-style storytelling, like the game itself. And there's some very similar themes coming up with the relationship, particularly between Robert and his dad. There's some similar smells being smelled. Robert II was hardly Father of the Year. Bit of a knob, in fact. And the story doesn't shy away from this. In fact, they grill him pretty much every chance that they get. But it does speak of how these things don't always have to plague us. They don't have to define us. Forgiveness is often most powerful a tool in those who believe that they don't deserve it. And it's really hard to give that forgiveness sometimes. Anyone can forgive a saint. It takes a lot of strength to forgive the devil and wish them well on their way. And what's important to remember, and people often forget sometimes, is that you're not wishing the devil well in his devilish pursuits. You're wishing the devil well in hopes that he abandons those pursuits, you know? In what most certainly be known as the Ted effect, I caught myself feeling bad in the final episode for Rupert fucking Mannion, the human dildo. Not because he'd earned forgiveness, not because he'd been treated unfairly, or even showed any remorse for his wrongdoings, but because it was quite clear in that moment that he realized that the things that were actually important to him, he had just lost by pursuing all the wrong things. I don't think at this moment Rupert turned around and abandoned his dickhead ways and asked for a job as the assistant to the kit man at Newport County. But I think that maybe if he was shown a little bit of that Richmond love, that you are a prick, but you don't have to be a prick forever type mentality, just maybe with the ghost of a chance, maybe he would want to pursue that. Maybe he would try to stop being a prick. And maybe is infinitely better than never. Shit, man, what's life without hope? You know, I think there's one other poignant piece of media that keeps coming to mind as I'm talking about this, and it would be episode 3 of The Last of Us HBO adaptation, long time. I spoke about this video at length. I gave it its own video some years ago, and I haven't watched that video back since uploading it, but I hope that the things that I say about it now and believe about it now reflect, at least to some extent, what I saw in it back then, is that it is a beautiful and remarkable exploration of hope and of belief and of people. It's a gorgeous exploration of loneliness and of love, and the story of Bill in the game versus the show are remarkably different and yet exceptionally do the same thing. You look at Bill in the games, and that is a guy who refused to hope, right? All he had was survival. Anything beyond survival was baggage, and baggage gets you killed. Oh, you can't be risking that, Bill. You got so much to live for. Think about your family. Oh, Bill. Well, think about your friend. Well, who's going to reset your traps, Bill? There's every chance that Game Bill popped his clogs shortly after we left him as Joel and Ellie, because he had realized that the one person that he actually cared about, he drove away and was now dead. Whether he did or not, the room he went back to was empty and hollow. I don't know about you, but that fucking kills me to think about. And yet, H-Bill-O does die in the episode. There is nothing fucking ambiguous about it. He is dead, and somehow this feels a lot less tragic. I had a tear running down my face when Bill wheeled Frank away out of the focus of the camera. Both stepping away from the camera for the last time the franchise will probably ever see, and being satisfied in that. These two fellas might be the luckiest in the whole fucking franchise, and it's because they decided to love. They were willing to love. They were willing to hope that there was more to life than survival. They both made a decision in a world where it seems that everyone is out to get everyone else, to take a chance on another human being. Maybe that shortened Bill's life in the long run. Maybe he would have lived more years if he was on his own. But it gave him a life that he was more than happy to end. Sorry, little bit of a Last of Us detour there, as you do. Probably didn't need it because you just come from watching my Last of Us with my dad video, which I promised several times in a row and definitely uploaded. Didn't I? Didn't I? It's still coming, I promise. Even in today's world, which feels like a turd on fire floating around in an acid bath, there is hope absolutely fucking everywhere. As I said, it's essential to the human animal. It is deeply intertwined in our lives, our books, our TV, our games, our movies, our interactions, the graffiti, the funny busker, the person you let out in traffic. It is a metric with which human satisfaction is measured. And if we let go of it, if we neglect it, if we forget how important it is to us, every single one of us suffers. But fuck, man, when you hold on to it, when you look for it in everything you do and say and hear and see and think, there is not a more beautiful thing in the world than people. Those messy, fucked up grenades of potential who are desperate for someone to come along and pull the pin. Hope doesn't often come in these huge moments and spectacles where everyone's eyes are drawn to one place and some miracle happens. No, miracles are beyond our control. Hope comes from 1,000 tiny, near imperceptible and utterly human moments when someone sees something in someone else or something else and believes in it. Enough to make us see potential where we once saw despair. It doesn't take an army and an earthquake to change the world. It takes stubborn, unrelenting hope. Okay, is that working? Yeah, alright, cool. I was going to film this bit like over the field or something, the field where I did the Firewatch video, but it's Wales, so it's been pissing down with rain for about 3 days straight, and the lion somewhat concerns himself with his almost $2,000 camera that is very not waterproof. I'm really glad to be back though. I've been writing or thinking about writing constantly. I'm getting back to my calorie deficit and strength training shit because of great results before. I stopped it because life went to shit. I'm a DM now. That's wild, and not for D&D, for Mothership, but it's fucking great fun. Maybe for D&D someday, who knows. I've had a pep in my step writing this video and getting to work on it and getting started on it and reaching out to people who got involved with it. Adam, Amelia, McKenzie, Levi. It's become a real thing, you know, that I'm coming back, and now I'm back. I'm recording this 15 minutes before the teaser video comes out. I want you to know that I'm back because of you, all of you decent, good and kind people who enjoy this stuff and asked for me to come back, and I really, really do appreciate that, and I apologize I was gone so long. You know, writing's fun again. I wanna do this stuff, and I wanna be doing more YouTubery shit. I'm even considering like streaming and shit. Honestly, I just want to play Disco Elysium finally, and I want to take you guys along for the ride. I reckon it'd be funny. My hope relented for a spell. It disappeared, but it's poking its head back out the bushes. There were so many reasons I was away from the channel for so long. Loads of family stuff, loads of work stuff, but that's always a problem. That's always the case. There were additional problems on top of this, brought up by the sudden and absurd amount of attention brought onto the channel. The success of those last few videos meant that I was no longer making videos for just literally 1 or 2 people, and previously it was the case that it didn't matter whether what I made was amazing or utter dog shit, because it was literally just for such a small audience and it was just for fun. There was no pressure coming down on me, there was no expectation of dealing with like hate and stuff like that. But coming back to 8,000 of you, it's like I'm not busking anymore. I'm walking out on stage in my boxers, and that's freaky. It's freaky in particular because although like 95% of you are just wonderful and I love you, and the things you say are just absurdly, mind-blowingly kind and lovely, or just funny and clever, the 5% that did come just to hate and just to tear down and throw shit at me, it did kind of get to me a bit, you know? Don't get me wrong, I wasn't balled up in a corner, no tears were shed over the words of last name bunch of numbers, nobody's in a comment section on YouTube, but you know, their words did stick around in my head for a bit, and they made me wonder, like, do I really want to come back? Is this the thing that I want to come back to? Why would I want to spend hours cooking in the kitchen to serve up a plate to someone who's just going to look at it, spit on it, and throw it back in my face? I wouldn't. Unfortunately, against my better judgment, I do care what people think about what I do and what I make and who I am. But this was my failing, and It's by my own blame that got in my way. It shouldn't have. Not because their words were nonsense. No, the commenters probably already know that. Like, their words aren't for me. How could they be? I'm a fucking stranger on the internet. It would take way less effort to just leave than it would to type up and send a comment, right? No, their anger wasn't for me. It spawned elsewhere and I just got caught in the crossfire. That's fine. I forgive them. No, it shouldn't have happened for a few reasons. One, they were never who I was cooking for. And two, I got cynical. I started thinking of people wrong. I got cold. I started expecting that whoever was going to come over here and interact was going to interact in a negative way, right? That the only comments would be hate comments, that anyone who was looking at my stuff would hate it, all of this. I expected the worst of people. I expected the worst of you, and that is my unkindness. And I apologize for that. That's rude of me. I apologize for thinking so little of you. You probably do it too, right? You see someone in public, you want to compliment someone, you want to say that's a nice coat, mate. You want to ask someone how they're doing. You even want to show interest in them. But there's this voice in your head, right, saying, oh God, no, they're going to be grossed out. They're going to hate me. They're going to say something mean to me. And both our days are going to be ruined then. But surely that's rude as fuck, right? Surely you're immediately assuming, or you're immediately believing, that this person doesn't have decency, doesn't have kindness in them. And some people don't, right? I'm not going to pretend otherwise. Some people are just cunts. But to believe that people are inherently unkind before giving them a chance to prove you wrong is just such a tragedy. It sucks for you, it sucks for them, it's the worst case scenario for us all. You aren't fucking with the belief of hope. I haven't been fucking with the belief of hope, right? To believe in others, to believe in you. These are the reasons that we stay alive, not out of some desire to wake up and sustain ourselves every day with the intention of using that sustained and prolonged existence to avoid and disregard each other all the time. Hate and anger, they're temporary. They're breath on the glass. Belief, forgiveness, understanding, they'll outlive us all, right? Hope, quite like confidence though, doesn't come from thoughts alone. There's no thought process or order of thinking that will make you believe in yourself, that will make you believe in others unaided and without any backup to it. You know, like confidence, hope comes from the uncomfortable actions. You take a chance on someone, you talk to the girl. As much as it sucks, the action has to come first. Throughout pretty much all last year, I hadn't even entertained any possibilities regarding YouTube except for the most negative ones, for the worst case scenarios. Whatever I made next was going to be universally despised, that one super popular video was a complete fluke, and I'll have proven to myself that this thing that I really want to be good at and really want to keep doing, I'm terrible at, and I have to just accept that reality and move on. You know, everyone ditches the channel, and that little glimmer of hope for success over here that I had is going to be gone. To be honest, that's another reason I didn't upload. I didn't want that reality to be actualized. But I see I've got to face the future, because limbo is a fucking horrible place to be. We have to do the uncomfortable action. I've got to do the uncomfortable action. Here I am. It may be the case that half the time, or even more, your hope won't go as appreciated and as valued as it really should. Big whoop. Sorry, but that's the case. You know, hope isn't about the times that you fail. Hope is about staying absolutely positive that at some point you won't, because at some point you won't. With every new attempt, with every tiny success, it becomes less of a fantasy that you can make a difference. It becomes normality. Every time you believe in someone enough to give them a chance to earn that belief, you lose nothing, they lose nothing, except for that weight of expectation, of expecting to be hated, to be disregarded, to have the doors slammed in their face, expecting to fail, expecting that you and they and everyone, no one will ever be better than they are or better than they have been. You can't control other people's actions. You can't undo an unkindness done to you. What you can do is look forward. What you can do is believe in a reality where you were the last person that they did that to, and believe that that is the reality that you're heading for. What a privilege that would be, to be the last victim. So please remember to try wherever you can to hope. Be relentless with it. Be a little bit stupid with it. Believe more in other people than you could ever see them believing in themselves. Believe in yourself more than you could ever ask anyone else to. Give people the forgiveness and the hope that you wish that they would one day earn, because who knows, one day they just might. And that little chance is as close as we can get to magic. All you've got to do is believe in it. So, do you believe yet?